Welp, it looks like we have already reached that time of the vicious Destiny 2 cycle. We already saw Bungie release a brand new update for the game in the form of the Faction Rally event. We saw the Destiny 2 community discover for themselves that certain things aren't working as intended, or that features have been shadily implemented. We saw the Destiny 2 community revolt in the forums in response, and now we are at that stage in which Bungie issues some sort of half-assed blanket apology statement. If you haven't been keeping up with the latest Destiny 2 debacle, be sure to check out my last video, but the bottom line is that Bungie was once again caught throttling or holding back rewards without communicating with players. This time they throttled Faction Rally tokens, which players must collect and pool together during the week-long Faction Rally event to clinch victory for the faction they joined. Alongside acting as the event's scoring system, tokens also grant engrams that yield faction rewards. So by throttling token earnings, they not only limited players' ability to go above and beyond and score a bunch of points for their faction and go crazy, but also their ability to loot desired rewards. On top of all that, in a baffling move, Bungie decided not to include Curse of Osiris's new faction weapons into the rewards pool for this faction rally, resorting to trickle them in over time throughout the course of the season instead. What this means is that there is little incentive to pursue these weapons now, and more incentive to just wait until the final faction rally of the season months down the line, when all the weapons are finally added to the pool of rewards and available to be earned. Now, a lot of people thought that all this was just some kind of bug or had something to do with server issues, but turns out it was completely intentional on Bungie's part, as they revealed in their latest updates. So yeah, long story short, Bungie has seemingly learned nothing from the multitude of backlash they have faced in the past for employing similar tactics, despite promising to do better and be more transparent next time. Following community outroar against the latest faction rally, game director Chris Barrett took to Twitter to address the negative feedback, and here's what he said. Our new goals for weapon rewards in faction rallies should have been broadcast before it returned. I think we could have avoided lots of confusion for players. The development update was our priority. Going forward, we'll strive to communicate any changes to rewards or experiences before they go live. If you suddenly got a sense of deja vu from reading that, trust me, you're not the only one. Another Twitter user replied with, "There it is, the famous 'we'll communicate more'," to which Barrett retorted, "I'm just admitting this was an oversight on my part." Look, Chris, admitting your mistakes is great and all, but this isn't our first rodeo with a situation like this. There are only so many times you can admit making the same mistakes before it becomes tedious and insulting. Leniency can only stretch for so long. Now, just to give you some perspective on how many times we have heard the same song and dance, here are a bunch of Bungie statements that I've compiled over the months, starting with their response to backlash against XP throttling. After reviewing our data, we agree that the system is not performing the way we'd like it to. We are not happy with the result, and we have heard the same from the community. Moving on, here's how they responded to community backlash against Bungie's original intention to lock old vanilla content behind the new and underwhelming Curse of Osiris DLC. With Curse of Osiris now live, it's clear that we have made some mistakes with how we have handled content access. We have heard from the community that both of these plans aren't working. This was an unacceptable lapse on our part, and we can understand the frustration it has created. Thank you for your patience and feedback as we work to continuously improve the Destiny 2 experience. Next up is their response to backlash against the 3 of Coins issues, which reads, "We are looking to address this with a future hotfix expected in early 2018. We will continue to monitor and forward feedback concerning this feature throughout the holiday season." Then we have Bungie's response to the backlash against the insidious, Eververse-centric Dawning event, which reads, "Thank you for the feedback. This is being collected and forwarded to the appropriate teams as necessary." There is also Chris Barrett's own response on the matter during the holidays, which reads, "I know we say it a lot, but we hear your feedback on Eververse. We both want our players to feel respected and to deliver great content regularly to our community. Expect lots of discussion with the dev team and update on our path forward after the new year." Last but not least, we have the latest Destiny 2 development update from Bungie, published just a few days ago, in which they basically detail how throughout the course of 2018, they plan on making Destiny 2 more like Destiny 1, with bold statements such as, "We used to wait to talk about game updates until we were certain we could meet our deadlines to avoid letting players down if we changed our plans. No longer, we are not just listening, we are doing. Oh, and the creme de la creme, we'll be talking to you more directly and more often as promised." As you can see here, it's just the same responses and empty promises worded differently each time, which is exhausting for a community who, even months after the game's launch, has yet to see Bungie learn from past mistakes and improve their approach towards a game that had so much potential. I'm all for people making mistakes, acknowledging them, working towards rectifying them, and receiving second chances. But there comes a point in which just admitting wrongdoing is no longer a viable course of action. At this point, the only real apology that Bungie can make is through actions, not words. Don't tell us you're going to do better, be better. Stop spitting in the faces of the Destiny 2 community at every turn, who have very clearly laid out how Bungie can work towards improving this unfortunate disaster of a game. One last comment that Barrett replied to was this user's criticism on how this latest faction rally provides no new substantial loot for Season 2, stating, quote, "You're not respecting my time and you're not offering any new loot. Why on earth would anyone come back to the game for that?" That's a valid question, to which Barrett responded, "I hope you saw the new armor ornaments for each faction. New weapons are awarded to the winners, and new weapons will become available each time the event returns in Season 2. So basically his response was, check out the cosmetics we have now, the weapons will come later. The user retorted with, "Destiny is a looter shooter. I want to get weapons and armor primarily. Ornaments and cosmetics are secondary and hold low interest for me personally. I want to play fun, engaging activities to chase for cool, unique, new, powerful loot. The ornaments look cool, but I'm not playing an event to only chase for cosmetics, Chris. I want unique new weapons to grind for. I didn't pay £60 plus DLC cost to play cosmetic-only events. If I wanted to chase for cosmetics, I'd play Warframe." They hit the nail on the head. Destiny 2 isn't a fashion show, it's primarily a shooter-looter. And when Bungie cripples both the shooting aspect and the looting aspect of their game by refusing to reward players with a constant stream of substantial new weapons and gear, or by throttling the ability to earn in-game rewards, especially during a special, limited-time event, well, backlash is par for the course. Moving on, alongside Barrett's tweets, Bungie also took to their official website to publish a blog post addressing the recent negative feedback. Here's what they had to say. "There's an ongoing process at Bungie to assess how we want to change Destiny 2 in the weeks to come, and your voice is a crucial part of it. There was an issue in the previous faction rallies where players were earning hundreds of faction tokens per hour without firing a single shot. In the recent December 12th update, faction token rewards were added to an existing system that was locking players out from lost sector rewards. We have heard player feedback that this solution was too disruptive. We are looking at a change that won't make players feel forced to run to and from a single chest for hours while also not placing a hard stop on enjoying lost sectors. We want to ensure that every time you open a chest there is loot inside. We'll share more details on this before the next faction rallies." That's right, folks, they're basically saying that the current faction rally is fucked and that they'll work on implementing changes in the next ones. Though once again, they didn't provide any specific details, and the response basically bogs down to the typical, "we're looking into it," which is all too familiar for Bungie at this point. The blog post then proceeded to address the lack of new weapon drops in the current faction rally, stating, quote, "The other question that players immediately asked when decrypting their faction engrams was, where are the new Season 2 weapons? It was not made clear beforehand that the new Season 2 weapons would be added throughout the events of the season rather than all at once in the beginning. This was on us, no excuses. You can read the full details with how the weapons will be rolled out here. We will be remedying this lapse in communication next week with details on what you should expect when the next Iron Banner rolls out in Season 2. Notice just how tone-deaf Bungie is on this particular issue. Yes, a big part of the backlash stemmed from Bungie's lack of transparency, a baffling force of habit that the studio can't seem to shake. But the real issue is Bungie's decision to not implement any new weapons as part of the rewards pool for this faction rally's engrams. They have made it so that there is no point to pursue faction engrams until the last faction rally of the season, when Bungie has finished trickling in all the new weapons into the rewards pool. What they're essentially doing here is kicking Destiny 2 players in the groin and then apologizing for not warning them about it rather than for the action itself. Warning us about a kick in the groin doesn't make the kick in the groin less painful. Even if Bungie would have told us that this is how they're going to do it, Destiny 2 players would have still been baffled at how utterly moronic this decision is, especially for a game that's already sorely lacking in substantial content. Seriously, Bungie, we have had enough of you admitting your mistakes. We have heard it all at this point, and it's done absolutely nothing for the community you have kicked and battered around, and for the game whose potential you've snuffed. You have two choices right about now. Yield to the community's very reasonable demands, or watch Destiny 2 crumble like a house of cards. Because at this point, even the most hardcore of Destiny 2 fans are fed up with Bungie's moronic and apathetic decisions. One gander at Bungie's forums or the Destiny 2 subreddit should tell you everything you need to know about how utterly disillusioned this passionate community has become. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video informative, and if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It's completely optional, but it would certainly go a long way in helping this channel develop and evolve. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.